Hi boys and girls, this is lesson 111, and it's about points, line segments, lines, and rays. Make sure you get that written down in your notebook with today's date, and when you're ready, go ahead and go on with the video. So I'm going to show you several pages from your SRB, which you obviously could get on and look at yourself, but I went ahead and put them in this video for you. You're going to read through them. And when you're doing that, I want you to think about where geometry can be found in our world. When you're done with reading the 3 pages and you've thought about that, could you list 3 different places where you see geometry in your own world, in your math notebook? Write those down. Make sure, again, that's under the headline for today and the date. So here you go. Pause these so you can read them. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the fact that we could also see lines, line segments, rays in the world as well. So I wanted to just get us into that conversation. So you can see there I've drawn point A and point B, and then I can put them on a line segment by connecting them. So there, now I have point A and point B on a line segment. And if you look at the last line, you can see I could write that line segment AB or line segment BA, or I could shorten it and just put the line segment over top of the letters AB. Notice it's always capitals. Or over BA, I could put the line segment. I don't have to put the little dots on it when I'm doing the abbreviation. We'll assume that they're there, but if I was going to do a line, I would have to change that. So that's the basics on line segments. Hopefully we can make straight line segments for ourselves when we're going places in the hall and we don't create lines that go on forever. Okay. So if you were going to describe a line segment to someone who's never seen one before, what would you say? Pause the video, jot your thoughts. I hope you would say something along these lines. It's straight, it's thin, it has a beginning and an end, and its length can be measured. Again, that's a line segment that we're talking about. Okay. If you didn't have any of those things, add those to what you had in your notes about a line segment. And then under the squiggly line here, now we're going to look at lines. So again, we've got point A and point B, but this time we have them on lines. And you can tell it's a line because it has arrows at both ends, which should help you to realize that that would go on forever. I could just keep drawing because it's just pointing that it's going on. When I'm writing that, I can write it line AB or line BA, and then you see I can shorten it, but when I do that I have to put the line symbol above the capital AB or the capital BA. So if you're thinking about lines, they differ from line segments because lines go on forever without stopping, whereas segments have a definite beginning and an end. Okay. Hope you're writing these things down in your notes. And then let's talk about rays. So rays are definitely different than the other two. They have similarities between the two, though. So if you look at this, this is ray CD, and I could write it ray CD. Notice that I underlined, maybe I should erase that so you're not confused. That doesn't have to be there for the labeling, but I do want you to realize that when we're talking about endpoints, the endpoint, which I circled there, the C is the endpoint, that's always going to be at the beginning of the labeling of it. I couldn't call this ray DC because D is not the endpoint of this ray. C is the endpoint of the ray, so it's always going to come first. So please make sure you're noticing this. The endpoint comes first in the ray's name, always. Okay? Jot that in your notes. That's really important for you to get. So let's see if you can answer some questions. So could we draw all of a line segment? What do you think about that? Jot down what you think. Here's what I think. Yes, it has a beginning and the end, so I can draw all of it. Could we draw all of a line? Here's my answer to that one. It goes on forever, so I couldn't ever draw it. How about all of a ray? It goes on forever in one of the two ways, so I couldn't draw that either, not all of it. Okay, now don't look at my answers that are in green, but try and answer this yourself first. So you see off to the right I have, let's see, I'll circle it for you. I have this line, and I want you to think about how many line segments you can name using the points marked on that line. You jot down what you think and then come back and take a look. Hopefully you found X, Y, X, Z, and Y, Z. I could have alternate names for those segments, but those are the only 3 segments I could find. I could call those segments instead of XY, it could be YX, and instead of XZ, it could be ZX, and instead of YZ, it could be ZY, but those are the same 3 line segments, definitely not rays, line segments. Those are the same names. So there are 3 different possibilities on this particular line that I've drawn. 3 different line segment possibilities with 3 alternate names. And then let's take a look at rays. Using that same line, what rays and alternate names can I come up with? So for this one, there's 4 different possibilities. I could do XY, which could also be called XZ, or I could do ZX, which could be called ZY, or I could do YZ or YX. Make sure you take a look at what the little picture that I've put at the bottom of this page to make sure that all of those points make sense to you. You might want to jot some of those down. You need to definitely make sure that they make sense. So take a look at them. And then, almost lastly, I want to talk today about parallel lines versus line segments versus rays. So I've given you examples of each kind. What's the parallel part mean? Jot down what you think parallel means. I hope you would have said something like, parallel means they never intersect. They'll never meet. They'll always travel along the same path, never meeting. And whenever I think about that, I always picture train tracks. Because train tracks have to stay the same distance apart. If they didn't, yikes, we'd have some trouble, right? So that's the picture I keep in my mind when I think of that. Notice how the parallel lines have arrows on both ends, meaning they go on forever. The segments have endpoints. And the rays have endpoints on one end, and they go on forever the other way.